Hello, how are you all doing? I decided I'd do a little stream. Now, we want to do this more often. So, last time we had teething issues and it went off halfway through the bloody recording. So, broadband connection is also a bit of a bugger. But listen, we want to know how you want this to go, right? This is really supposed to be interactive for you. And whatever you want, we will provide. If you want more guests, if you want topics covered, let us know in the comments. Do comment along. Because the beauty of being live is that you get to get involved, right? You watch interviews for Reason to about 40,000 subscribers now, and you don't get any interaction, or you don't get to give your opinion in a way in which I can access it. The beauty of it here is that I can see all your comments, right? I can see Richard's just said hello. He calls us Bonnie Lad. Cheers. Jackie says hello. And yeah, so comment along and I'll be able to respond to yous. And I just like that, right? I like hearing from you. Yous are a canny bunch. Right, okay, let's talk about some topics. So I've captioned it, Has the World Lost Its Mind? And I'll explain why. Right, so this actress, she's called Maddie Ziegler. Now, apparently, I've never heard of her before, by the way, but she got famous from a reality TV series called Dance Moms. And she's had roles in numerous movies, apparently, and see her music videos. She's a canny music artist. And she's published a lengthy statement. I thought, why has a 17-year-old published a lengthy statement? What's she done? And it's apparently she's apologising for past racially insensitive videos that she made. And you might think, all right, well, if she made them as a, 17-year-old, well, maybe there's a good argument that she should know better, because, it says that she made racist jokes about Asians, mocking their accents and facial features. But then you look at how old she was. She was 9 years old. We are criticising a 9-year-old for mocking an individual on something that they don't know any better about. They don't know how insensitive it is to criticise someone on immutable characteristics that they can do nothing about. A child doesn't realise that it's the content of your character that matters and not how you look. To them, people that they might never have interacted before who look different to them are funny. And that's just what a 9-year-old would respond like. Why are we making 9-year-olds apologise for things they've done when they were 9? I mean, come on. Sorry, 17-year-olds apologise for things they've done when they're 9. It's just, where does this end? So I said on Twitter, where does this end? She was 9 years old. Where does the obsession with identity-based politics and desperation to extract public apologies from teenagers for videos they've made as a child, get we? We'll really have to start rejecting this divisive menace. And that's my problem, right, with the whole charade, is that we are dividing people unnecessarily. I don't doubt for a second that racism exists in the United Kingdom, and wherever we find it, whether that be racism between different racial groups, anti-Semitism found within political parties, whatever it is, we have to get rid of it. But I really do fear that all we're doing is dividing people and creating divisions where none currently exist. The United Kingdom is a country that enjoys fantastic race relations, and I hope that continues. Of course I do. But at the minute, these activists extracting apologies from 17-year-olds seem to be doing all they can to divide her. And I'm going to get on to something what the BBC's done, which is even worse than this, actually. But I'm going to read some comments first. Yous are all saying hello. Hello to all of you. Thanks for joining. And good evening. It's bloody boiling, isn't it? Oh, by the way, I'm wearing a tie because I'm going out for a fancy dinner in a restaurant. And I'm going to be sweating like a pig. So that's brilliant, isn't it? Can I complain? Can I grumble? Diane says hello from Northumberland, the most beautiful county in the whole of the United Kingdom. Right, next topic then. So, here, the Daily Mail are reporting on the way in which the BBC, in recognising the one group that they can go after for the licence fee, because it's my generation that don't pay for it, right? It's my generation that don't have a television set in all likelihood. We're not consuming content in the same way that older people do. And the BBC's going after older pensioners with that in mind. They know that they're going to be able to get money out of them in a way in which they just can't with my generation. So when that loads, I've said on Twitter, with BBC videos for children on white privilege, podcasts on Karens, and now the hounding of pensioners as the one group that they know are more likely to rely on the television sets to combat loneliness, the BBC seems to be begging the government to act. And I think they should, right? I've said this before, so sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record. But there's a real social justice case to be made here for decriminalisation of the licence fee. You've got young people statistically more likely to be in the house because they're students in rented accommodation. And the licensing authority will come along, knock on the door. Why have you not got a telly licence? Can I come in? They don't know that they can say to them, no, you cannot come in. And you end up with young people going through the court system. Same with single mothers, statistically more likely to be in the house. The licensing authority comes round. Can I come in? Yeah, not knowing that they don't have to let them in. They come trundling on in, and you see single mothers going through the same process. I really think that it's, in 2020, the most regressive tax to ask people that might not be consuming BBC content, that might not enjoy podcasts on Karens or being lectured on their white privilege, to actually have to pay for BBC content. I think it's, come on, any Conservative government, and remember this is Boris Johnson describing himself as the people's government, for any government of that name, decriminalisation of non-payment of the licence fee should be top of your list. So what do you all think? Graham Millwood has a good point. He says on Facebook, he says, oh, that's a bit big. He says, just wait until they try to prosecute an elderly person. And then the poo, he said another word, but I won't read that out, will really hit the fan. And I think that must be right, because I think for a large part, the British people are a very tolerant people, right? But they're also a really fair-minded people. And they'll recognise that older people that don't want to pay for BBC content for all the reasons I've just set out, it's a real injustice that they're being forced to do so, especially given that in 2015, the former Director General of the BBC pledged that the BBC would protect free licences for pensioners, the over 75s, and they've reneged on that promise. So, right, what's the next topic? The Daily Mail doesn't seem to want to load. Honestly, man, we're having real bloody Wi-Fi problems. Right, let's see if this loads. So this was a video, and it really got my back up. Let us know what you think about it. So let's have a play.
We've been engaged in a global conversation about race and racism. You've probably had discussions at home, at school, or at work, and in those conversations, you've probably heard the term white.
So this is BBC Bite Size, by the way. So this is a revision service for kids at school. And this is a video they've put out on their Twitter. So this is your license fee paying for this content.
Privilege. You may have even had this term used in a way that felt like an insult or an accusation. Others will have told you that it's all just made up to make white people feel bad, and none of this is right. Privilege is a hard concept for people to understand, because normally when we talk of privilege, we imagine immediate, unearned riches and tangible benefits for anyone who has it. But white privilege, and indeed all privilege, is actually more about the absence of inconvenience, the
absence of inconvenience, white privilege. You know, every single time, and I'm sorry for being so personal on this, but and be anecdotal, but it just springs to my mind every single time. You know, I've got two brothers back home in County Durham. Both of them went to the same, well, one of them went to a different school, but me and my immediate sibling went to a really crap comprehensive. We're all grandsons of a miner. None of our dads are around. Single parent family, obviously, and mother out all the time working hard to try and keep her afloat. They're in and out of jobs, and obviously COVID has meant that they don't stand a chance of getting employment opportunities at the minute. And I look at the two of them, and I think, what white privilege are they evidence of? You know, what opportunities have they had in life that suggests that they've got some form of white privilege? And if I'm wrong on this, if I've got this massively wrong, and on every single level, state comprehensive and above, white people are completely dominating and getting all the privileges and opportunities handed to them on a silver platter, I'd say to you, right, fair enough, you've got a point. There are some deep systemic issues that we've got to sort out. But when I look at my two brothers, I just think it's outrageous to suggest that they've had some form of privilege in life. They haven't. They've struggled. The whole family struggled. Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments. I'll go through some comments now. Yeah, I mean, you're all in agreement. It's just, I also just find it deeply objectionable that this is being pushed out to kids, right? I don't think we should be making kids feel inherent guilt about something. Where there are genuine inequalities in life, we should of course be tackling them. But I want to focus on those issues. I want to hear more about those issues. You know, I want to hear how we can help not just black people, not just black and minority ethnic people in this country, but everyone. How can we give everyone a step up? How can we make everyone have better access to opportunities? How can we help society in general? You know, why are we not talking about things like fatherless homes and the impact of those homes are having on society? You know, if you don't have a dad around, you're statistically more likely to get involved in crime. You're statistically more likely to do less well at school. Why are we not talking about those societal issues? Because they affect everyone. I just worry what this constant obsession with identity-based politics is actually doing to our and society as a whole. So, anyway, that's my 2 pence. I think I've just brought up a comment by David, but David says Lefty Education needs to end. I think that's a good point, to be honest, right? I think to a large extent, one of the best things the government announced during COVID-19 were plans to defund universities who are struggling because of COVID. They can't get the international student numbers. They can't get their biggest cash cow, which is international students. And they're having to look elsewhere. And Gavin Williams said, and I hope he sticks to this, Gavin Williamson being the Education Secretary, he said, if universities don't commit to free speech provisions, then we'll defund them. We won't give them any financial support. And I hope that happens. Because to be honest with you, I think we could do with a few less of these horrible Marxist outfits in our university system. And actually more private universities. I don't think all of them need to be centralised and controlled like the way they are. It's clearly not got where anywhere, has it? On a more fundamental level, on university, sticking on that topic, I get messages from people all the time. And I know that sounds dramatic, but you would expect that from me, wouldn't you? I get messages from people, students, and they say, Leeds University being an example I think of in my head. And they say, we try and issue invitations to Conservative MPs. We book them, we get a venue secured, and then, like clockwork, diversity teams, students, left-wing students, start campaigning against this speaker coming to the university. So, again, like clockwork, the invitation has to be revoked. It has to be pulled, because they've lost the venue booking, and they can't get another venue. Because the same thing will happen again. And just imagine that. Think about that. Think about the consequences of that. The repercussions of saying to a democratically elected politician in this country, you have centre-right views. Our university can't have you here. We cannot hear, students can't hear from democratically elected politicians from the governing party of this country because of left-wing activism and diversity teams. That must be terrible for advancing debate and speech and building up a better and diverse set of ideas and knowledge for the next generation. Is it any wonder that my generation, and I grew up watching Channel 4 News, so thank God I'm not a communist, but for an entire generation to grow up not being exposed to the ideas of the governing party, to only exclusively have left-wing ideas presented to them, how bad must that be for debate and speech in this country? So I completely agree with David's comment there. I totally do, and that's David on Facebook. Diversity of thought, but I don't mind diversity of all things. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I really don't have a problem with, I think this country is functioning phenomenally well up until people are trying to divide us. So, anyway, right, what have we got next after? But I honestly, I can't get over this. I just can't get over it. Just making our kids feel guilty like that. It must be so damaging. It's not good. It's not good. Oh, here we go. Right, Foxy Fox. Claire Fox. Did you all see that Claire Fox is getting a peerage? And I thought, you're fantastic. I think Claire will be a welcome voice, to be honest, for democracy and for actually standing up for communities that I think have been forgotten for much too long in this country. And she was a fantastic member of the European Parliament. She gave some absolutely cracking speeches whilst there. And she squared that. She's, the Brexit Party obviously relentlessly Eurosceptic, but they still took their seats in the European Parliament, so they could be a voice for Britain and for Euroscepticism in the chamber. But then people said, well, she's been offered a peerage. Is she not a hypocrite? Because she's, called for the House of Lords to be abolished in the past. And I thought about this and I thought, well, no, because the same arguments stand, right? The same arguments that Claire gave around taking a seat in the European Parliament, which she thought was anti-democratic and a joke parliament, basically, which has no real democratic accountability and no real lawmaking powers. She squared that by saying, well, no, I'm here to argue for this place, or Britain's part in this place, to be abolished. And she can do the same thing from the House of Lords. But the Labour Party's argument is that Boris Johnson has failed to block the elevation of Claire Fox to the House of Lords, and it's an insult to people of the North West, and shows that he doesn't care about the victims and survivors of terrorism in our communities. Now listen, I find the IRA, I would have to go into language that I don't think is appropriate for a live stream. But the rank hypocrisy of those who campaigned heart and soul to have Jeremy Corbyn elected as Prime Minister of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, a man who invited them for tea, who invited Jerry Adams and I can't remember who else, and has had a relationship, or at least argued favourably when it comes to the IRA in the past. And for the Labour Party to have the audacity to say, well, Claire Fox shouldn't get a seat in the House of Lords. Jeremy Corbyn is a man who throughout his career has had more sympathy with people who mean to do Britain harm than actually defending Britain's interests. And I just can't believe that. I can't believe the audacity and the hypocrisy of people who would argue those two things and not see that they're being massively hypocritical in arguing Claire Fox shouldn't get a peerage, but Jezza Corbyn should have been Prime Minister. Can they not get this? Can they not tell that that's just not computing at all? So, well, someone says Jeremy Corbyn wasn't elected. Yeah, and thank goodness for that. Right, what have we got next? Oh, here we go. I know this is going to get some of your backups. I've got a lot of emails about this, actually, with people very angry about this. And it's the Migrant Boat crossings.
I don't know if you can see from where you are, but when the camera zoomed in, we could see the boat sitting very...
You see in these clips...
We're going to stop this, sir. You have border... Okay? Yeah, you okay, yeah? But they seem to be...
I mean, they're all right.
And...
And then in a later clip by Good Morning Britain, you see UK Border Force driving over after they've been, I believe, yes, they've been shadowed by French border forces before being left to cross into English waters. Now, I'm someone that believes that the skills that we need should be able, people with the skills that we need should be welcome to come here. I think for a large part, immigration that has been able to integrate into British life has been massively beneficial for this country. Undoubtedly so. But when you're getting people coming here through illegal channels, when there's a pandemic, let's not forget, COVID-19 sweeping around the globe, and people coming here illegally, and to say, well, we've got to make it easier, we've got to make these legal channels easier for people to get here. I'm sorry, but they're in France. If they're genuine refugees, they can seek refuge in the sixth biggest economy in the world, in a country that, last time I checked, isn't at war. But it's not about that. It's about seeking access to economic opportunity. And I don't begrudge them that, really. I understand why they want to do it. But where I think policymakers in this country, in France, around the world, are going wrong is by actually encouraging the people trafficking. Because if you make it clear that UK Border Force will ensure that these migrants are offered safe passage to our shores, then it's only going to get worse, right? More and more people are going to be making that perilous journey in what is an inflatable dinghy with a motor, or sometimes just the inflatable dinghy. Then you're going to start seeing big numbers of deaths, and that's a horrible thing. So I really fear that the Liberal response to this, in saying, well, we've got to make the route safer, we've got to maybe pick them up in Calais and bring them across. Well, no, because you just encourage more and more people to do it. I'm afraid we can't let ourselves get in that position to encourage people to make that such a perilous journey. So I think, and if you look at this video from a year ago, Boris says, we will send you back. If you come illegally, you are an illegal migrant, and I'm afraid the law will treat you as such. Well, I'm afraid, Boris, that's clearly not happening, is it, at this point? I'm afraid that people's frustrations are perfectly valid on this, and that we've got to get a grip of it before lives are lost, before more people give more and more money away to people traffickers. Reportedly, people sometimes just with a mobile phone who are able to connect people and get them here. And it's not good. It needs to be sorted. It absolutely needs to be sorted. So a year on, we haven't got that. We will send you back if you come illegally. Is that happening? I don't know. I can't say for certain. I don't know. And listen, I have sympathy with people that want to achieve better for themselves and achieve a better lot in life. But we cannot encourage illegal migration to this country. Illegality has we cannot encourage illegality in a country which cherishes not just its democracy, but the rule of law above all else. And I think all too often at the minute, we're turning a blind eye to the rule of law and thinking more about what appears to be good over actually being good. And I think being good would be to not encourage people to make these perilous journeys. Anyway, I'm listening to your comments. Alfred says, Darren, please... Oh, someone says, suck it, rich kid. I'm not rich. Alfred says, Darren, please grow a backbone. Well, that's kind. I stood up against the establishment. I took them on. I won against the Electoral Commission. I have fought at every single opportunity in life. I grew up with nothing but the two good things that you can ask for in life. No money, because I think it makes you work your arse off. And secondly, a good parent, my mother. So, Alfred, you can kindly get stuffed, because I don't accept that I don't have a backbone. I'm reading your comments. Someone says, are you left wing? No, I don't think I am left wing. Anyway, listen, right. I'm going to have to go, but send us a comment, leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel on YouTube if you've enjoyed it. And leave in your comment, leave what topics you'd like. What guests would you like to see on? I'm going to invite Maya Tusi. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to get Maya Tusi to appear on this so we can have a conversation. But do you like the live stream format? Let us know in the comments and I'll do more of them. But it's been a pleasure. I like interacting with yous. I like speaking to yous. I like hearing from you. Ordinary people. So keep up the good work. Have a fantastic night and try not to melt in this excruciating heat, which is far too hot for someone from the northeast of England. I tell you that much. Cheers, guys. Ta-ra.